Well, welcome back to my driveway, where today's repair is all about cooling, because this is the heat that I've been experiencing. Having to stop on the side of the road because the car's overheating is absolutely no fun. On a regular basis, I also have to, because of how hot it gets, have the fan on full blast and also the heat all the way up in order to vent air off of the engine. And this really needs to get addressed. So I'm looking forward to getting this done. Now, I know that many of you are going to be appalled when I tell you what I'm about to do to this original Porsche part, but let me explain. You see, part of the cooling system in our cars consists of these two fans. But if you look a little bit closer here, you'll see that my fan actually has been broken here and even on the connection. And so this isn't working at the moment, and this is what I'm going to be replacing. What am I going to be replacing it with? I've just bought a generic 10-inch, very important measurement, 10-inch fan. I'll put a couple of the specs on screen or perhaps down in the comment section. And it's just a generic fan. I'm going to just give it a go and see what happens when I replace it. But here's a little bit of something interesting that I picked up in one of the forums. 10 inches covers this area here, and so if we remove this, and mine is broken and so I intend to remove it, this places almost perfectly over the top. So I get to, with very minimal effort, replace this old, possibly a little bit worn out fan with something updated and new, and for not very much money. Now, one of the other major benefits that comes as a result of this new fan is weight reduction. Those other fans are really heavy. This is a power probe type device. So what we're going to do is let's run a few tests. And I think we'll start with the older fan just to see if it is actually working. So we take the ground connection here, stick it on the ground. And what's nice about this is you can apply a positive or negative current. And let's see, okay, so we've got a circuit. And it actually works really well. So I would say that what we probably have to do is look at the wiring inside of the car. So we've discovered something. Unfortunately though, this is broken. Now let's quickly test this fan. We won't do it like that because of course there isn't too much clearance there. So I think we can safely assume that red is red and blue is blue. So let's see. Yeah, okay, let's see if this is one of those fans that you can run backwards. I hope it is, because right there it was pushing and not pulling. Oh. Still the wrong direction. So what do we do now? Whoa. Okay. There's an arrow here on the fan. I'm wondering if we just flip this over, whether or not we get a different direction. I mean, I know we will, but I'm wondering if it will fit. Let's see if I can quickly grab a small, what does that look like, a 10. All right, got the 10 mil, but let's quickly look at this. A definite benefit of this fan is this protective grid here. If we look at the older one, this is, remember where mine is broken, there's only these elements that are protecting anyone from getting into contact with this fan, including some cooling pipes. And so every now and then there was a little bit of rubbing, and so I'm quite pleased by this. Okay, now let's move on to what we're here to do, and that is to figure out whether or not we can change this around. So if we just pull this off, there we go. And there it is, the arrow in the other direction. So let's just put this, let's get this nut on. Okay, let's run the test again very quickly. Remember, we need clearance. I think that will give it to us. Doesn't matter which direction we're going. Great news. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, now onto the part I'm dreading the most, and so are you, I think, and that's permanently removing this fan, these brackets that hold the fan in. And there we go. Okay, let's see if this fits. Perfect. In fact, oh, perfect. I'm really impressed. But I am running out of light, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this up in the morning, drill some holes, cable tie it in, and then we must work on the wiring in the car. I'll see you in the morning. It's the next morning and it's time to attach the fan to the shroud. You'll see that over here they've made provision for mounting, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, line it up nicely, drill some holes and use some really hardy cable ties to do the mounting. So I'm going to start with quite a small bit. Here it is. I'm also going to go quite far down on the shroud because I don't want any cracking. Then I'll build up to something a little bit bigger because the cable ties that I am using are really quite hardy. So I'm currently a little bit concerned about a clearance issue. We've got the frame of the fan, but then on the fan blades itself there's also another, I think, protective ring that is attached to all of the blades. The clearance between that ring and the frame is so small that now the cable tie is busy touching. So I'm wondering if we pull it across ever so slightly, if that's going to change. But yeah, that's no good. So I've been fiddling for a while now and I have a solution. Let me show you what I've done. I was always wanting to use the entire frame of the fan because it was going to give the whole unit, I think, a certain level of strength and rigidity. But instead what I'm going to use are these little provisions that have been created, and just simply line up the holes with those provisions and just connect those. It does make me a little bit concerned about strength, but it seems like it's thick enough plastic and fairly decent, so I'm sure it will be okay. Okay, and with that, I'm certain you'll agree that this is actually a really, really neat option. I'm so impressed with, remember that measurement, a 10-inch fan. I mean, it fits almost perfectly. All right, I've brought it over here so that we can do a little bit of testing. But remember that our plug over here has a little bit of work we need to do. I think what I'm going to do as I look at it here, I'm probably going to just pull this out because that was the old plug that was on this fan. And then I'm going to probably take these out, insulate them somehow, and then we can proceed with our tests. All right, with that sorted out, let's do some connecting here, but we'll see that this harness is a little bit too short, so it's not going to work so well. So let's turn this around, and then we'll go red into red and blue, but in this instance a little bit of black into brown. Perfect. And we'll connect this other fan. Now remember, this is a late car, and so the fans work slightly differently to the earlier cars, and also the test procedure is very different. In our case, we're going to take the jumper that we had made in one of our previous videos, and we're going to come down here to this connection that goes to the thermofan switch. The order of these I'm going to put up here with a Clark's Garage reference, but it's essentially 3, 2, and 1. Now, if we want to test the slow speed of these fans, we're going to connect 3 and 2 together with the ignition off. So let's do that now very quickly, and let's see what results we get. But before I do that, let me just check. Clearance, good. And this one, that looks good. All right, 3's in, here goes 2. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I'm really pleased with that. Something that I've also noticed here immediately is how quickly this older fan stops spinning. Maybe the bearings aren't so good. This one is still spinning here. So I'm really chuffed with this upgrade. Okay, now we're going to move on to our second test, which is the high speed mode. First, I have to go into the car and turn on the ignition. Let me quickly do that. It's also really important to have the aircon off for this procedure. Okay, then we're going to now jump 2 and 1. Let's try that again. Here we go. Nothing. Okay, I don't seem to have high speed mode, and that would answer one of those concerns. So I didn't have a fan that was working, and I don't have high speed mode. I'm going to quickly do one quick test. I'm going to leave it like this. I'm going to go into the car and I'm going to push the aircon button because I think my switch might be faulty. And let's see what happens here when I push that switch in. Okay, did you see that? I heard it, and I can see it's still spinning here. So I actually think that my switch inside is faulty and it's stuck on for my air conditioner. Okay, so what do we know so far? We know that we have 2 fans working in low speed mode. We know that high speed mode isn't functioning at this particular point. We also know that the low speed mode switches on at 92 degrees Celsius. And so I think that these 2 fans are going to do a good job keeping the temperature down. However, if it continues to climb, then we're going to have to really troubleshoot this high speed issue, which I'm going to do anyway, but not in this video. This video was about replacing this fan. I'm really impressed with it. Okay, I'm going to button this all up, and here comes some test footage. I'm going to tell you, I'm so very impressed with how well this car is now maintaining its temperature. There was a moment where there was a little bit of a blip, a flick, but the fans came on and it sorted itself out. It's a 30-minute trip, no problems. I'm really happy. That's the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.